The sun rose over Ogwik village, painting the red-tiled roofs with golden light. Everyone was awake, preparing for the wedding of Adis, the village's most admired young woman. Tomorrow, she would become the bride of Obiora, a man from the city who had captured her heart. But this morning, laughter and excitement filled the air. Adis sat in front of her large mirror, her friends fussing over her vibrant George blouse and wrapper, decorating her with gold beads and coral necklaces. "Tomorrow, Adis, I will follow you," said Ifinanya, her childhood friend, adjusting the folds of her wrapper. Adis laughed, they sound like bells. "I just want to rest for a while. My cheeks hurt from all this smiling," she said playfully. With a soft smile, she rose and slipped quietly into her bedroom. The sounds of the village faded as she closed the door. Inside, the air was calm. A gentle breeze fluttered the white curtains. Adis lay down, her hands folded over her chest, and closed her eyes. Hours passed. The laughter and drums of the village continued outside, but inside, Adis did not wake. Evening came. Mama Nkiru, her mother, carrying a tray of her daughter's favorite dish, jollof rice with pepper chicken, knocked gently on the bedroom door. "Adis, my daughter, wake up. Eat something before night," she called softly. No answer. She pushed the door. The room was still. Her eyes widened. Her hands reached for Adis' arm. Cold. "Adis, my child, no." Mama Nkiru screamed. The cry tore through the compound. Villagers came running, drawn by the wails. Inside the room, Adis lay motionless. Friends cried, men and women shook their heads, unable to believe the sight. "She was fine this morning. She was laughing." Ifinanya wailed. Word spread like wildfire. The bride-to-be was dead. Tomorrow's wedding would not happen. By morning, the village square was full of murmuring villagers, women weeping, and men standing silent. Adis' coffin, polished and covered with white flowers, was prepared for her burial. But in the shadows, only Obiora noticed something strange. As he approached the coffin, a sudden flicker of movement caught his eye. Could it be? No, he blinked. Nothing. His heart raced. The drums started softly, women sang the morning song, and villagers began the procession to the cemetery. Obiora's eyes never left the coffin, a sense of dread curling in his chest. Something about this day felt wrong, and little did he know, Adis was not gone. The coffin lid was closed, polished, and adorned with flowers. Villagers gathered, their faces pale with sorrow. The women sang soft morning songs, the rhythm of the drums echoing through Ogwik village, as if nature itself grieved. Obiora stood at the front, his heart pounding. He had been to many cities, faced many challenges, but nothing prepared him for this. He had seen Adis alive that morning, her laughter, her bright eyes, and now, nothing. The villagers whispered, "She was laughing this morning. How could this happen?" Obiora's eyes stayed fixed on the coffin. A sudden flicker of movement caught his gaze. He blinked, thinking it was a shadow. But deep down, he knew it wasn't. Something was wrong. He stepped closer, his palms sweaty, legs trembling. The coffin seemed normal, but a chill ran through his body. He swallowed hard. The drumming grew louder, yet only he could feel a subtle rhythm underneath, soft and haunting. As the first bearers lifted the coffin, Obiora froze. A soft sound, almost like a sigh, brushed past his ears. He turned sharply, but no one else seemed to notice. The villagers continued, unaware of the disturbance. Obiora's mind raced. "She can't be, she's gone," he muttered under his breath. The procession moved toward the cemetery. Dust rose under their feet. Women wailed, children hid behind mothers, and men looked solemn, whispering prayers. Obiora's eyes never left the coffin. He could feel a presence, a heartbeat that did not belong to anyone there. Halfway through the walk, he glanced at the crowd. Everyone was focused on the path, the chants, the drums, but Obiora noticed the air shifting. The shadows of the trees seemed longer, darker. His chest tightened. Then, a thought struck him: what if she's not at peace? What if this is more than death? He stopped abruptly, causing the bearers to pause. Murmurs rose among the villagers. Obiora swallowed hard, eyes darting around. I need to see, just a moment, he stammered. The crowd looked puzzled. A small boy whispered, Oga, Obiora has gone mad. Obiora shook his head, feeling the urge to run. This is impossible. He tried to calm himself, but the drumming in his ears grew louder, almost calling his name. At this moment, the camera would zoom in, if this were a film. The suspense was unbearable. The coffin seemed heavier, then lighter, as if someone was moving inside it. If you want to see what happens next to Obiora and the mysterious bride who won't stay dead, hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications. This story is about to get even more chilling. Obiora's hands trembled. He took a step closer, leaning over the coffin. The wind whispered through the trees. And then, he thought he saw a flicker of white fabric, just a shadow. Obiora gasped. His heart raced. This was no ordinary funeral. Something was coming, something only he could feel. The drums grew louder, the mourners' chants blending into a rhythm that seemed both sorrowful and alive. Obiora stood frozen beside the coffin, his eyes wide. Every instinct in his body screamed that something was not right. As the bearers lifted the coffin higher, a faint movement inside caught his gaze. A ripple of white fabric, soft and fleeting, like a breeze brushing across a curtain. He blinked, but the motion persisted. His pulse quickened. Is someone inside? Obiora whispered to himself. He clenched his fist, desperate to convince himself it was a trick of the light. But deep down, he knew it wasn't. The village women sang louder, their voices carrying on the morning air. But the rhythm seemed to align only with his heartbeat. Every drumbeat felt like a whisper calling his name. Suddenly, the coffin lid shifted slightly. Not a crack, but enough to make Obiora step back. The crowd didn't notice. To them, the lid was still. Only Obiora's eyes could see it. He gasped. Adiz, the name left his lips before he could stop it. And then, it happened. A soft step, barely audible, yet deliberate. Something white emerged from the coffin, no, someone. A delicate hand reached over the edge. And then a figure rose slowly. It was Adiz, her white gown glimmering faintly in the sunlight. Her eyes, wet with tears, locked on Obiora. For a heartbeat, time froze. The drums continued, but no one noticed the bride rising from her coffin. Her movements were graceful, slow, and sorrowful. She began to dance, each step deliberate, as though the very earth carried her sadness. Obiora staggered backward, unable to breathe. She's alive, he stammered. But the villagers only saw him pointing at thin air, screaming. Can't you see her? She's here. No one heard. No one saw. Only Obiora could witness Adiz's haunting dance. His knees buckled as reality twisted around him. The wind carried whispers, almost voices. Justice, peace, don't forget me. Adiz's lips barely moved, yet the words resonated in Obiora's chest. Obiora reached for the coffin, trembling. Adiz, my love, what is happening? His voice cracked, echoing against the compound walls. The crowd murmured, some stepping back, unsure why he screamed alone. Children clung to mothers, sensing tension, though they didn't understand. And then, a soft, urgent tug at Obiora's sleeve. It was Ifunanya, his voice trembling. Oga, maybe you should calm down, or... Obiora shook his head violently. No. You don't understand. She's dancing. Right there. The moment stretched. Adiz continued her slow, sorrowful dance, approaching only him. Her bare feet touched the ground lightly, yet the rhythm seemed to echo inside his soul. Obiora backed away, heart hammering. Every instinct screamed fear, awe, and love at once. He knew the village would never understand. Only he could see her, alive, yet not fully among the living. And somewhere in the distance, a faint laugh of the wind whispered her name, carrying a promise and a warning that only Obiora could hear. The villagers continued their march toward the cemetery, singing, crying, and beating drums. But Obiora could no longer focus on their voices. His eyes were glued to Adis, still dancing beside the coffin, moving as though the earth itself carried her grief. He staggered forward, clutching at the air. "She's here. She's alive. Can't you see her?" The crowd stopped. Murmurs spread quickly. "What's wrong with him? Oga Obiora has lost his mind," some whispered. Children clung to their mothers, unsure what to think. But then something strange happened. A flower from the coffin arrangements lifted gently, floating as if guided by an unseen hand. The villagers gasped. Heads turned, and whispers turned to cries. "Did you see that?" one woman shouted. Obiora's heart pounded. "Yes. That's her. That's Adis." Only he could see her fully. She danced closer, her eyes locked on him, her tears sparkling like morning dew on coral beads. Every movement carried sorrow, love, and a silent plea. The drums seemed to respond to her rhythm now, faintly, just for him. His knees buckled, and he fell to the ground, reaching out. "Adis, please, tell me what I must do." The crowd now murmured in confusion. Some began to notice subtle shifts, the flicker of the gown, the floating flowers, a soft wind brushing against their faces though the air was still. Fear rippled through them. Obiora's best friend, Chokudi, stepped forward. "Obiora, calm down. You're scaring everyone." "No. You don't understand," Obiora shouted. "She's here. Dancing. Alive. Right before my eyes." The villagers began to retreat slightly, unsure whether to approach or flee. The atmosphere was tense, some whispered of curses, others of spirits angered by broken promises. Adis danced closer to Obiora, each step deliberate. Her feet barely touched the ground, yet he could hear every soft tap echo in his chest. His palms shook as he tried to shield his eyes from the brilliance of her sorrow. A faint, haunting whisper reached him, "Do not forget, Justice, remember me." Obiora fell to his knees, tears streaming down his face. "I will never forget you, Adis, never." The villagers were now fully aware something unnatural was happening. Fear mixed with awe. Some began to murmur prayers, others whispered of spirits and ancestors. The village square was alive with tension, hearts racing in confusion and dread. And somewhere behind the crowd, Ifinanya glanced at Obiora, noticing his desperation. She whispered to herself, "Something is not right. This is beyond any funeral I've ever seen." Obiora's hands reached for the coffin again, shaking. Adis' gaze never left him. Every tear, every movement, every sway of her gown reminded him that this was no ordinary death. The drums slowed. The villagers froze, unsure whether to continue walking. The air was thick with suspense. And Obiora realized that the story of Adis' death was far from over. The crowd of villagers had stopped completely. Some clutched their children, others pressed palms together in urgent prayer. The air seemed heavier, thick with whispers of the unknown. Obiora remained on his knees, staring at Adis, whose white gown shimmered as though touched by moonlight even in the day. She danced closer, each step deliberate, sorrowful, and mesmerizing. The beads around her wrist jingled softly, like distant bells calling only him. He reached out, trembling. "Adis, tell me, what do you want from me?" Her eyes glistened, her lips moved, though the words were barely audible. "Remember, Justice, remember me." Suddenly, a sharp rustling came from the edge of the crowd. Ifunanya, Obiora's childhood friend, stepped forward cautiously. Her eyes widened. "Obiora, do you see her?" she whispered. "Yes, only I can see her," Obiora replied, his voice shaking. He looked around. Some villagers had begun whispering about spirits, curses, and ancestors displeased. Then, another strange thing happened. A soft shadow moved along the walls of the houses. It didn't belong to any villager. It shifted and swayed in time with Adi's dance, though no one else could see it. Obiora's heart raced. She's everywhere, even where no one notices. His knees pressed into the dusty ground. Sweat ran down his face. The drums had slowed, almost trembling now, echoing Adi's sorrow. Obiora could feel the rhythm in his chest, guiding him to something he did not yet understand. A sudden wind swept through the village square, scattering flower petals from the coffin arrangements. They swirled around Adi's, lifting slightly off the ground before settling gently back. The villagers gasped in awe and fear. Obiora shouted, "Stop! Please, hear me. I am listening. I will remember you, Adis." Her gaze softened slightly, but the dance did not end. Every movement carried warning, love, and sorrow. The whispering grew louder in Obiora's ears. "Justice, do not forget, remember me." Then, from the crowd, a voice rang out. One of the village elders called, "What is happening here? Who dares disturb the peace of the departed?" His eyes narrowed. Obiora jumped to his feet. She's alive. She's not dead. Please, you must see her." The villagers murmured, some frightened, some curious. He shook his head, confused, unable to comprehend what he could not see. But he noticed the subtle movements, flower petals floating, wind stirring, the unnatural stillness of the air around Adis. Obiora's hands shook as he stepped forward again. "I beg you, believe me, she's here. Only I can see her." The drums grew louder, almost frantic, echoing through the village square. Adis' dance intensified, more sorrowful, more deliberate. Every step was a message, every movement a plea. Obiora's eyes filled with tears. And somewhere, beneath the layers of fear and whispers, the villagers began to sense it, the presence of something beyond death, something demanding to be acknowledged. Obiora's hands were trembling as he stared at Adis. Her sorrowful dance seemed to pull at the very air around him, bending it with invisible force. Each step was deliberate, a rhythm that only he could hear clearly, a rhythm of warning, grief, and a plea for remembrance. The villagers had stopped completely. They whispered among themselves, pointing at strange movements, petals hovering midair, faint shadows swaying on walls, and the chilling stillness around the coffin. Fear had replaced curiosity. Obiora's best friend, Chokudi, stepped closer, his face pale. "Oga, you need to calm down. This is too much, too strange for us to understand," he said quietly. "No. You don't understand," Obiora shouted. "She's here. She's alive. Only I can see her." A sudden gust of wind rattled the coffin flowers and carried a soft whisper to Obiora's ears. "Do not forget me, remember, justice." Obiora's knees buckled. He fell again, clutching the dirt beneath him. His mind raced. Why had Adis returned in this way? Why had she come back only for him to witness? The crowd murmured nervously. Elder E stepped forward, squinting at the coffin, his hands gripping his walking stick. "Something is not right. The spirits, they are restless," he whispered, mostly to himself. Obiora tried to explain, his voice breaking. "You have to listen. She is right here, alive, dancing, telling me something." From the edges of the crowd, Ifunanya moved closer to Obiora, concern etched on her face. "Oga, this is beyond our understanding. Maybe we should call someone who knows these things," she suggested. The wind swirled again, scattering petals around Adis. She stopped mid-step, lifted her hand slightly, and a faint glow seemed to radiate from her palms. Obiora's heart nearly stopped. The whispering returned, stronger this time. "Remember me, seek justice, do not let my story be forgotten." Obiora fell to his knees fully, pressing his forehead to the ground. "I promise, Adis, whatever it takes, I will not forget. I will seek justice for you," he whispered. Suddenly, a low drumbeat began from somewhere deep within the village. It was not the mourners' drums, but a slow, resonant rhythm that seemed to come from the earth itself. The villagers froze, eyes wide. Even Elder E stiffened. Obiora looked up. Adi's gaze softened, yet her expression remained haunting. The dance slowed, almost like a gentle bow, before she stepped backward, fading slightly into the morning light. Only Obiora could still see her clearly. Then, as she disappeared, a soft echoing voice lingered in the air. "Do not forget, Obiora, remember me." Obiora fell forward again, tears streaking his cheeks. The villagers were silent, unsure what had just transpired, but they felt the weight of something they could not explain. Even in the distance, a shadow of her movement remained, like a memory etched in the air. Obiora knew one thing for certain: this was only the beginning. The villagers were still murmuring among themselves, the air thick with tension and fear. Obiora's heart was pounding as he stared at the fading image of Adis. Her words echoed in his mind: "Remember me, seek justice, do not let my story be forgotten." He looked around and noticed that some of the villagers were beginning to sense the supernatural presence too. A few elderly women whispered prayers under their breath, clutching amulets and charms. Children clung to their mothers, eyes wide with fear. Obiora turned to Chokudi. "We cannot wait. Something happened to her, something they are hiding," he said urgently. Chokudi shook his head. "Oga, what are you saying? You think someone here caused this?" "Yes. I don't know who, but Adi's death was not natural. And now, she's warning me. I must find the truth." Obiora's voice trembled, but his resolve was clear. The whispers of the crowd grew louder, speculating about curses and spirits. Some began to point toward the compound of Adi's distant relative, saying they had seen strange movements there the night before. Obiora's eyes narrowed. He remembered a conversation he overheard months ago. Adis had mentioned that some villagers envied her family, jealous of her beauty and success. Could envy have turned into something darker? Suddenly, a cold breeze swept through the village square, rustling the leaves of the tall trees surrounding them. The villagers shivered. Obiora felt the same haunting pull he had felt before, as if Adi's presence guided him toward the truth. He stepped forward, ignoring the stares. "I have to go there, to her family compound. There are answers there, I can feel it." Chokudi hesitated. "Oga, are you sure? People will think you've lost your mind." "I don't care what they think. Adis is speaking to me. Only I can see her, but she chose me to carry this. I must uncover the secrets in the shadows." Obiora's voice was fierce now, filled with determination. The villagers continued to murmur, unsure whether to follow or retreat. Some feared the spirits, others were curious. Obiora knew he could not wait any longer. The truth behind Adi's death had to be found before her restless spirit vanished completely. As he moved toward the relative's compound, a soft, almost inaudible whisper echoed in his ears: "Hurry, before it's too late." Obiora's resolve hardened. Every step carried him closer to the mystery that had stolen Adis from this world. He knew danger awaited, but he also knew that justice for Adis must be served, no matter the cost. Obiora approached the old compound cautiously. The sun had dipped low behind the hills, casting long shadows across the dusty ground. Every creak of the gate, every whisper of wind through the palm trees made his heart pound. The compound seemed abandoned, yet he could sense a presence, a quiet tension that made the hairs on his arm stand. Adi's faint voice echoed in his mind: "Look closer. They hide the truth." Chokudi followed behind, carrying a small lantern. "Oga, are you sure this is safe?" he whispered, eyes darting at the darkened windows. Obiora shook his head. "I don't know, but if I don't do this, Adi's spirit will never rest." They stepped inside. The main hall was dusty, and cobwebs clung to the corners. Old furniture creaked under the weight of time, but something felt off. A faint glow seemed to shimmer from the walls, just like Adi's had glowed earlier. Obiora's eyes scanned the room. There, on a small wooden table, was a torn piece of Adi's dress, caught on a nail. His breath caught. "She was here," he whispered. Suddenly, a soft giggle echoed from the corner. Obiora spun around. "Who's there?" he demanded. No one answered, but the flickering lantern cast shadows that looked like dancing figures. Obiora felt a chill run down his spine. The air seemed alive, charged with something unseen. Chukwudi swallowed nervously. "Oga, maybe we should leave." "No," Obiora said firmly. "We are close. Adis wants us to see this." He moved further into the hall and found a stack of letters, tied together with a faded ribbon. As he untied them, his eyes widened. The letters were from Adis herself, her fears, her warnings, and mentions of someone watching her closely. She knew something was coming," Obiora said, voice shaking. "Someone planned her death." Chukwudi looked at him, wide-eyed. "Oga, this is serious. We need help." Obiora nodded. "Yes, but not just anyone. Only someone who understands the spirits, someone who can guide us." He tucked the letter safely into his bag. Outside, the wind howled, carrying a soft whisper, "Justice, do not let them hide it." Obiora glanced at Chukwudi. "Tomorrow, we will visit Baba Namdi. He knows about the spirits. He can tell us what we must do next." Chukwudi nodded, swallowing hard. "Oga, if Adis is really guiding us, we must follow her exactly." Obiora stared back at the compound one last time. The shadows seemed to move, almost like they were watching them leave. He shivered but felt a strange resolve. Adis' presence was everywhere, pushing him forward, urging him to uncover the truth. As they walked back through the village square, the moonlight caught the petals still swirling from the earlier funeral. Obiora felt them brush against his arms, as though Adis was silently cheering him on. He knew the next day would reveal more than just clues, it would reveal secrets that some wanted buried forever. The first light of dawn barely touched Umon's village as Obiora and Chukwudi hurried toward Baba Namdi's compound, a small, secluded space surrounded by tall palm trees. The old man was known for his wisdom, spiritual insight, and the ability to communicate with spirits. Today, Obiora prayed, he would finally understand why Adis had returned. Baba Namdi welcomed them with a calm nod. "I have been expecting you, Obiora. The spirits have been restless. Adis has chosen you to speak for her." Obiora bowed, almost trembling. "Baba, she died, but she came back. She wants justice. I don't know where to start." The old man gestured to a small calabash filled with sacred herbs. "Place your hand here and listen closely. Her soul speaks clearly now. She will show you the truth of who wronged her." Obiora obeyed. Immediately, a cold breeze swirled through the hut. The air grew thick, and a ghostly figure of Adis appeared, floating softly above the floor. Her eyes glimmered with sorrow and purpose. "You must find the ones who envied me," she whispered. "They wear smiles by day, but at night, they plot. The truth is hidden where greed and jealousy meet." Obiora's heart clenched. "Tell me, who did this? I will bring them to justice." Adis pointed toward the distant compound of her envious cousin, Amoka. "They poison my rest, they cannot escape the spirit's eyes. But beware, their guilt runs deep." With Baba Namdi's guidance, Obiora and Chukwudi returned to the village. That night, under the cover of darkness, they confronted Amoka and her accomplice. At first, they laughed, thinking the young men were mad, but the winds howled violently, the ground shook slightly, and a faint ghostly glow of Addis appeared around Obiora. "You cannot hide," Obiora said, his voice shaking but firm. "Addis sees everything." Suddenly, the earth beneath Amoka's feet trembled. Flowers and dust swirled unnaturally. Panic spread across her face. She fell to her knees, confessing everything, the envy, the poison, the lies, before she collapsed in terror as the wind seemed to carry Addis' sorrowful dance around them. Obiora finally felt a strange relief. Justice was served. The villagers would never forget what had happened. That night, as Obiora returned home, he sat alone, exhausted. A soft breeze passed through his room, carrying a faint whisper, "Remember me, obey the hearts of the living, protect what is pure." He smiled sadly, knowing Addis' spirit had finally found some peace. Yet, as he drifted to sleep, a faint knock echoed at the window. When he looked, nothing was there, but a single red flower lay on the sill. Obiora picked it up, a shiver running down his spine. He understood then, while justice had been served, Addis' spirit would always watch, guiding and warning, a reminder that some mysteries of the heart and soul can never be fully explained. The village returned to its daily life, but whispers of the ghostly bride who danced at her funeral haunted the storytellers and the children for generations. Every red flower, every soft wind through the palm trees reminded them, love, envy, and justice often walk hand in hand, even beyond the veil of death. And so, the story of Addis ended, not with full closure, but with a memory, a lesson, and the quiet presence of the supernatural, leaving the villagers with both awe and caution.